Howdy folks, you're watching Deuce and Guns, and today we're talking about black powder. Hold on, 1 second. There we go. Howdy folks, you're watching Deuce and Guns, and today we're talking about black powder. Actual, real black powder. This is Goex 3F powder, which is made specifically for the revolvers of the day, and we're going to compare that to the Pyrodex P, which is also triple F powder that you can get at Walmart or any other place that you can't get true black powder at. I have a chronograph set up downstream or downrange, and it's set quite a ways away because black powder tends to foul up the readings on a chronograph. So hopefully I've got it down far enough, there's a picture of it, where the smoke from these beasts will not interfere with the reading. Now today I'm using a chronograph made by Caldwell. Now Caldwell, this chronograph especially, makes it so much easier for me to use on YouTube videos. Now there's nothing wrong with my old shooting chrony, my F1 shooting chrony, which I've used for years and years without an issue. The benefit with this is the fact that I don't have to dedicate a camera to the readings on the chronograph. It has an app, so I can just take screenshots throughout my shooting session and show you guys the feet per second. Now all velocity tests will be done with my 8-inch barreled black powder revolver, because most people, if you have a black powder revolver, most people have the 8-inch version. They don't have the Buffalo, they don't have the Sheriff's model, they usually have the 8-inch, which is, in my opinion, the best one to have anyway. Now from previous testing, which I'll put a link in the video, there we go, there's a link to the old video right there where I tested the velocity and powder charges. But I found out that the 8-inch revolver loves 25 grain loads and 30 grain loads. Anything above 30 grains, I got very diminishing results. And anything below 25 grains, and I got abnormal ignitions. So I got lots of spread between velocities between shots. So today, just 25 grain loads and then 30 grain loads. First of all, we'll start off with what I'm very familiar with is the Pyrodex P powder here. And I'm gonna go ahead and dump this into my powder flask here because I just love loading from the powder flask. I know I still have to use a measure, but still, it just feels better. It feels right to me to use one of these. So I will change this out when I'm ready to test out the Goex powder. Now to be as official as possible today, I'm going to use, instead of the grease, I'm going to use Wonder Wads in between the bullet and the powder. That's what a lot of people do, and it's a lot cleaner. So that's what we're doing today. So we got the powder in there. I'm going to go ahead and put a Wonder Wad, which I think this is just boar's butter and felt. And there's a Wonder Wad right there on top. Today I'm going to be using my own homemade balls there. That is just normal lead balls. That is 44 caliber. And I put on the truck there 138-ish grains. They do vary a little bit. But we basically go ahead and put the ball on top right there. You got to get really tight there. I want to get as even a compression as possible. I'm using Remington number 10 caps. I've got a bunch of CCI caps and they do not fit this revolver worth squat. 25 grains of Pyrodex. No, delayed there. 8/16. And now before I load up with 30 grains of powder, I'm going to take everything apart. There we go. And I'm going to clean up every cylinder with a brush here so I get a consistent reading for every single setting, every single load and powder. It's going to be consistent. So the cylinders are now clean. And I'm going to scrub out the barrel real quick. 30 grains of Pyrodex P powder right here in the 8-inch revolver. Here we go. Shot one. .953. Nice. Black powder is very difficult to get a clean reading on sometimes. It's all that smoke, and it's using light and imaging for the bullet going across, and the smoke's in there. It can have an issue. Okay folks, 25 grains of black powder. First of all, I do want to show you, let me go on half cock here. want to show you guys the uniformity of the rounds in there. That is nearly perfect. Okay, now 25 grains of good old black powder, Goex Triple F powder. $6.93. Air on that one. And 102, so it's a couple of airs there. I should probably let the smoke clear out, but we do have some very good examples of what's going on here. Okay, folks, yet again, I have a very uniform chamber depth for my bullet load. Again, Triple F Goex, 30 grains of black powder. Here we go. That feels more energetic than it is. 872 feet per second. 823, and wow, it's a lot of smoke. Tons of smoke. I've now moved my GoPro behind the chronograph, so you get kind of a feel of what's going on there. 873. 827. Okay. Well, guys, that was super fun to test that out. Now let's go back to the bunker and crunch these numbers up and see what's going on. The Pyrodex seemed to provide a little more punch, a little more velocity, which mind-blowing there. But let's go over the test results. Number one is the round ball I was using is 138 grains. On average, give or take a couple of grains, because they're made by, by yours truly. I cast them myself. So with a 138 grain projectile, the average for Pyrodex with the 25 grain charge was 797 feet per second. That's not bad. That is pretty hefty charge for a black powder revolver with an 8-inch barrel. And this is exactly what I was shooting down there. And with the same 25 grain charge with Goex powder, remember both these are Triple F powders made for revolver use, we got 743 feet per second, which is weird because that felt more energetic when I shot it. You saw it too. You probably saw that. The smoke, the energy, it felt like I was producing more energy, but in fact, it was producing less than the Pyrodex. And now let's move up to the 30 grain charge. For some reason, this revolver loves the 30 grain charge there. It's the most energetic, but it still feels really good, and it's very accurate too, by the way. Now, I can only recommend, and Pieta only recommends the 30 grain charge and above with the steel frame revolver. If you want to do the brass frame revolvers, you need to keep it down to 25 grains. Below 25 grains, you start getting issues with the actual ignition, and you get a lot of variation in speed. So I recommend 25 grains for any kind of brass frame revolver. But getting back to the 30 grain charge, the average Pyrodex 30 grains out of the 8-inch barrel here was 950 feet per second. Not something to sneeze at. I would definitely not volunteer to be hit by that. But if you do the same 30 grain charge, and remember, all these charges are weighed by volume, measured by volume, not by weight. You always want to measure black powder by volume. That's the mantra of black powder shooting. So the Goex powder had 858 feet per second out of the same 30 grain charge. I don't know what it is about it, but Pyrodex provides more velocity and, of course, more energy per shot. And now at the end of the day, when you're shooting black powder revolvers or black powder in general, there's several other issues beyond just pound-feet of energy and velocity per charge weight. And that is, number one, can you get the Pyrodex or can you get the Goex? The Goex powder is much harder to find. I had to order this online. Now, there are a few shops out there. I think Bass Pro, I can get this at Bass Pro shops and a few other reloading places. But for the most part, I can get Pyrodex at Walmart, at pretty much any place that sells any kind of sporting goods. I can find Pyrodex on the shelf. But the Pyrodex ends up being a semi-acidic mess, acidic caked mess on everything here. Now, in comparison, Goex does not end up in as an acidic type paste on there, but it is harder to clean. It's a much more gummy, it's much harder to clean substance than the Pyrodex, but the Pyrodex needs to be taken off immediately, or because it will just go ahead and start eating away the steel and the bluing, versus the Goex, you can leave that on a day, I guess. I mean, The faster you get to it, the better. But Goex is more a moisture issue. It attracts moisture and traps moisture up against the steel, causing it to rust. Versus the Pyrodex will start eating away anyway, regardless of it being a dry area or not. And thirdly, the third difference is that the Pyrodex smells weird compared to black powder. Now open this up here. True black powder doesn't smell like anything. It smells like an unfired firecracker, because that's usually black powder. It doesn't smell like hardly anything. Maybe a little bit of a chemical smell, but nothing really of importance. You really wouldn't notice it. You open up the Pyrodex, and it smells like charcoal. It smells like an old, dirty fireplace that needs to be cleaned. That's what Pyrodex smells like. And it smells like that even stronger when you shoot it. Versus black powder, it smells good. It smells like, it smells like, 4th of July. This is going to smell like 4th of July, and this smells kind of nasty. It has a unique smell to it, and it's not super pleasant. And if you notice, when I was shooting this, I had a few issues, a few errors over the chronograph, and the chronograph was getting a velocity. One of the velocities was from the bullet, and the other velocity was from one of the wonder wads flying over it, and completely screwing off the numbers. So I of course, threw those out when I was calculating the averages. So in conclusion, which is better? Pyrodex black powder substitute or Goex black powder, the real stuff, the real McCoy? Well, Pyrodex has a lot of advantages over real black powder. Number one is that it's available everywhere. Number two is that it is a little bit easier to clean, but you got to clean it really quickly. But it is easier to clean itself. It will give you a faster velocity, more energy with the same charges. The downfalls is it stinks to high heaven, and it's acidic to your metal, to your firearm, and it's just not very authentic. Goex black powder, typically it's a little more expensive. I forgot to mention that. This is the cheapest of those. Usually Goex is a little more expensive, harder to find, smells like the 4th of July when you shoot it. It does give you lower velocities, but it feels like you're shooting history. This feels like you're shooting a modern pistol. This feels like you're shooting a piece of history. And in reality, that's kind of what you're after, isn't it? You're not buying a black powder revolver to go out hunting or to go to 3-gun competitions. No, you're buying a black powder, slow to load revolver for the fun of it, for the entertainment value, for the historical significance of these things. I say if you can get a hold of it, get some Goex black powder. Well, guys, that's it for me today. Hope you enjoyed it. If you did, give me a like and go up subscribe, because a lot more of this on the way, including more black powder stuff. And if you have any comments, questions, or show ideas, leave that in the comment box below the video. And of course, you guys have a great day. See ya.